Hi friends, today is lesson 5.3 complex fractions and unit rates. This is something that you did last year, so there should be no deer in the headlight look. Make sure you take some good notes because there's a lot of good step-by-step instructions in here, just in case if you forget how to do this. If you're like me, you like step-by-step. So make sure you get those written down if you need them, and then a good example beside that. So the first thing I have to talk about is fractions. Now fractions is something we talked about before. So how do you multiply fractions again? I just want you to think to yourself, like, how do you multiply fractions? So, for example, if I have like 1/2 times 3/4, how do you multiply this? And I hope you said you multiply from left, or you just multiply across. There, you don't need common denominators. That's a lot of things people told me in the past when we did this. Oh, we need a common denominator to multiply. You don't. But you can reduce. Remember crossways. This way I can't reduce 3. It doesn't go into 2, and nothing goes into 1 and 4. So I'm going to multiply across, and it's 3/8. So I hope you remember how to do that. And then my next question is, how do you divide fractions? So let's say I have like 1/3 divided by 2/5. How do you do this again? There's a certain rule that we used, and we called it KCF. Okay. Keep, change, flip. So we're going to keep the 1/3. We're going to change the sign, and we're going to flip the second. Remember, we called it reciprocal, or multiplicative inverse was another word that we used for it. And then you can multiply across again. You can reduce. Multiplying across, I can't reduce anything here. I get 5/6 here, and that would be my answer. So 2 things, important things that you have to know for today's lesson. That's why I'm just quick going over it again. So complex fractions. Complex fractions are fractions that could have a fraction in the numerator or could have a fraction in the denominator, or maybe both of them are fractions. So it's basically fractions inside fractions is what a complex fraction is. If you think of the word complex, it maybe means hard or challenging. It's really not hard or challenging today. It's just knowing what to do. So complex fractions are fractions that could have a fraction in the numerator, the denominator, or both of them. So this is an example. Notice I have a fraction in my denominator here. I have a whole number in my numerator. That's possible. You could have a fraction in the numerator, and you could have a whole number in the denominator, or you could have a fraction in the numerator and a fraction in the denominator. All these things are complex fractions. So the question is how to solve them. Okay, it says how to simplify complex fractions, but really it means how to solve them. And if you look over here, I have some step-by-step instructions for you. And I will let you write them quick if you want to just pause me and write them. And then I'm going to do a problem for you in order of the steps. Okay? So go ahead and pause me and write some of the things down. Okay, so I'm going to work on this problem right here. It's 1/4 divided by 2. So the first thing I'm going to do step 1. And I'm going to write it as a division problem. Just remember, fractions are always division problems, top divided by the bottom. So I'm going to write this in a division problem horizontally. So in other words, it's going to look like this. Okay, that's my first step. Another thing I put in with my first step is if I have a whole number, how do you make a whole number a fraction again? And everybody forgets this. If you make a whole number in a fraction, you just put a 1 underneath of it. So if you have a whole number, it has to have a 1 underneath of it. Okay, now I'm on step 2. Okay, so I'm right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change everything here to the reciprocal, just like I did keep, change, flip. Oop, what's happening? There we go. So I'm going to do 1/4 times 1/2. Okay, so this is my second. And then the third, I'm going to just do my multiplication across. 1 times 1 is 1. 4 times 2 is 8. So the answer to this problem is 1/8. So knowing how to do things in steps, super, super important. Not everything is going to have a whole number in it, so it might have 2 fractions in it, but you guys know how to handle something like that. So let's try another one. This one I have 1 divided by 1/2. So if you look in your steps, the first thing you do is you write it in terms of a division problem horizontally. Easiest thing to do. My 1 is a whole number, so I'm going to put a 1 underneath of it, like normal. And then my step 2 was changing everything to the reciprocal. Okay. And then step 3 was multiplying across 2/1. There you go. Doing it in steps, super easy. Is there a way you could use your calculator for this today? Sure, but honestly, it would take you more time to type it into your calculator than it would to do it on paper. I'm not going to lie. Okay, I'm going to just do one more here. So let's say we have 2 1/2 divided by 1/3. Okay, this is also a complex fraction. I got a, a mixed number in the top, or not a mixed number, I'm sorry, oh my gosh, yes, a mixed number at the top and a regular fraction on the bottom. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write it out just like normal. Okay, need to change this into an improper fraction. 2 times 2 is 4 times what? So this would technically be 5 over 2 divided by a third. Okay, then you could do 5 over 2. This is what I'm doing my keep change flip times 3 over 1. Multiply across, I get 15 over 2, which would be 7.5. So it's possible with all types of fractions, mixed numbers, regular fractions, it's possible for all that stuff. Here's an example of a story problem. It says Josiah can jog 1 1/3 miles in a fourth of an hour. Find his average speed in miles per hour. So I want to know how far he can go in 1 hour. So in reality, what you would do, I mean, there's so many ways you could solve this. Like if I looked at this problem, I would not solve it this way. I'd say, okay, if he can go 1/3 and a fourth of an hour, and I know there's 4 fourths, I would take 1/3 times 1 1/3 times 4. That's what I would do. Okay. But like I said, there's so many ways to solve it, and what they want you to do is this. And then, let's see, it'd be 3, 4 over 3. And how I got that is I just changed that to an improper fraction divided by a fourth. Okay, so it'd be 4 over 3 times 4 over 1. You get 16 over 3. In reality, what did I say before? It's really like multiplying by 4, right? Okay, and then mixed number would be 4, 5, 5 1/3. So you can go 5 1/3 miles in 1 hour. Like I said, so many ways you can solve these. All right, so the next type of problem is simplifying complex percents, meaning you're going to change a percent to a fraction in the simplest form. Now, some of you might be like, well, why do we have to do this? Well, people would say, well, 33 1/3 already has a fraction in it. That has to be what the fraction is. That's not true. It's still in a percent format. So we have to change that percent format to a fraction. And that's what we're going to be getting at right now. So again, here's a step process that I have on the side here for you. The only thing that's different is step 1. This is the only thing that's different. And the reason is because it's over a percent. So I'm going to write 33 1/3% as a fraction in the simplest form. So I'm going to follow my step process again. Like I said, the only thing that's different is we have to create a fraction or a complex fraction with it in the beginning. And you do that by taking your percent. So this is step 1. Take your percent, and you're writing it over 100. That's the only thing that's different with this, okay? The next thing is writing it as a division problem. So we just did this, okay? 100 is a whole number. I'm going to put a 1 with it, okay? The next thing I have to do is I have to make this an improper fraction, though. So don't forget that. You have to make this an improper fraction. So like 33 times 3 is 99 plus 1 would be 100 over 3 divided by 100 over 1. So notice how I'm doing everything in steps. I like steps because I know I'm not forgetting something. Then I'm going to change to reciprocal. So now I'm going to be on this. It'd be 100 over 3 times 1 over 100. And, honestly, you could do your simplifying in here too. If you're like me, I like to do it beforehand. I don't like to do it after because sometimes you don't know if you can reduce if you do it after. So I know 100 can go into it once, 100 can go here. So I get 1/3. Now you might say, well, oh, 1/3 is in 33 1/3, so I should just use that. That's not always going to be true. This is just one example of that. And let's just do one more, or a few more of those. So write 6 1/4% in the simplest form. So first step, if it's a percent, I'm going to write it over what number? I hope you said 100. Okay, first step, down. Second step, writing it in a division problem, horizontally. Okay? And then in that step, I'm also going to change it to an improper fraction. So, and to do that again, let me just remind you, 4 times 6 is 24, plus 1 is 25 over 4, divided by 100 over 1. And you could do 25 over 4 times 1 over 100. Now there's a lot of reducing you can do here. 25 and 100. Let's see, 25 goes into it once, goes in 4 times. Multiply across. This answer is 1/16. Okay. Try this one by yourself. I want you to pause me and I want you to try it by yourself. All right, so it should be over 100. Okay, that'll be 10 2/3 divided by 100 over 1. So 32, not a great number, over 3 divided by 100 over 1, and I'm going to flip it around, 32 over 3 times 1 over 100. Let's see, 2 can go into this. Not great, though, I'll tell you that. 50. 2 here would be 16. Is that right? 32 divided by 2 is 16. I think so. Yep. Okay, I can still take something out of here. I can still take a another 2 out. So let's see, that'd be 25. This would be 8. There, I think I can stop. Now I can multiply across, and I get 8 over 75. And that would be my answer. If you have any questions, let me know. Just make sure you have the rules, or not the rules, the order in which you do this stuff, like your how you do it in that step, the bullet points or the list, you follow in the steps. If you don't have the steps, it makes it pretty hard. If you have the steps, it makes it a lot easier. So if you have to go back and get that down, probably a really, really good idea to go get that down. So if you have any questions, let me know, and I will see you tomorrow.